the moment I said, wait, so now I just work. Like, just that's it. So all of a sudden, for a period of 6 months, I was a bit lost. Like, yes, I still go to job. Like, my first job was sales, right? I've been in sales all my life doing corporate. Sometimes they will tell me, Asher, it's just a job. You get paid, this is your job, you get hired. I don't know. For me, I just cannot. I just cannot agree. I realized, okay, now I can be my real self. I start to have a lot of ideas around what I want to do. So I started a lot of different side hustles, right? I said, if I can just get that few clients that pay me this amount, then I can match my pay. And maybe I even have opportunity to do more things in the future. So those were really the pull factor. Want to do my own business. Push factor was all these different things in corporate. I need to first prove to myself, run the business for 9 months to 1 year. I want to make sure that I can firstly match my previous pay. Because then that will prove to myself that I made the right decision and I can do it. But there was also a period where I started to understand my capacity really well. What if you succeed?
Where are all your side hustles? Hey Coconuts, I'm sure you're familiar with our friends World First. World First is an all-in-one business account that fuels your business growth worldwide. And yes, they have been fueling TFC. I've used it myself. So World First have allowed me to open up a multi-currency account at zero cost and no fees and no minimum balance needed. So they have a new product which I will share with you more later in the podcast. Meanwhile, if you want to check them out, link is in the description below. And yeah, welcome back to the show. Let's roll. Welcome back to Chills with TFC. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut, and today we found and dug out another person from the internet. Like I said, we have been going down the Rolodex and found whoever that we think is worth your time listening to, and we are running low on the list. So if you think you have a great story, you can always email to us, hello@thefinancialcoconut.com. Write it as detailed as possible. If I think your story is interesting, I'll have you on the show. I think for a lot of us working professionals, we are just trying to make things work, and we want to hear how each other we are doing this thing. Okay, but I first got to know this guy on Geraldine's channel, right? So Geraldine Nia, I got to know Asher from that show, and I was like, oh, this guy is interesting. I would like to get him on to push the conversation a bit more, right? So for our audience that for some reason have not saw the video or don't know you, could you introduce yourself?
So hello everybody, my name is Asher. I'm the founder of my own company called Revenue Journey. I'm a solo virtual software consultant. That's what I do now. So the first 3 words, solo meaning right now it's still a solo business, just by myself. Virtual meaning most of my projects that I do with clients, I don't need to meet face to face. We can do it over the net, over Zoom, whatever that may be. Software, because my business essentially consults on how to use a particular software or how to implement certain projects using that particular software. In this case, it's called Clay. So it's a B2B software. We can talk a little bit more about that, but that's a bit of my thing. And I think to give everybody a bit of context, Geraldine essentially asked me about, hey, why do you leave your corporate job to start your own business? So that's how we got connected as well.
Just give us a lowdown or download on like why do you leave your high-paying 6-figure corporate job? Because I think on the other side of the screen, a lot of people are also entertaining this idea, or some people will be like, this guy's siao, leave this job, go and do a like startup grind, right? So just want to hear your point of view on that front.
So I'll share a little bit, right? For me, it was push and pull factor, okay, mainly. Push factor being the fact that I always wanted to do my own thing. When that feeling really became so strong for me was, so I grew up pretty average, right? Parents didn't have like, high-paying jobs or anything.
No humble background.
No, won't go there.
Okay.
But it's not like, we didn't have all things, but one of the things that my parents always told me is that, hey, Asher, if one day you go into university, then you have to pay your own fees, right? You have to take loans, whatever, you have to pay your own fees. And so money to me was always almost like a priority first, right? When I was growing up, because I knew that, okay, go university, let's say university, one semester is like what, 5K, 5.5K, haven't include miscellaneous fee, right? If you do 8 semesters, which is 4 years, which is what I did, I actually did 3.5 years. It was about 35K, 37K around there. I knew for a fact that I had to pay off. So during my university days, I was working part-time jobs and all of this. So working, studying, and my goal was simple. University, you can get loans from the school, right? Directly. Interest-free. And you get like 3 months of interest fee after you graduate. So, some people go and borrow a bunch of money from relative or what, just to make sure 0% interest. For me, no, I never did that. So I was quite focused that, okay, I want to clear as soon as possible. I don't want to keep paying interest, right? I was very focused on doing that. And I was quite lucky in the sense that when I graduated, it was COVID. I managed to get a job before I graduated officially as well. And from my savings in army and from my jobs while in university, I managed to save quite a bit as well. I don't spend much. And about 4 months into my working life, I managed to clear everything. But there was also the period where I was like, wait, all my life, it almost seems like my whole 4 years of university, I was just focused on this thing. All of a sudden, for a period of 6 months, I was a bit lost. Like, yes, I still go to job. My first job was sales, right? I've been in sales all my life doing corporate. And that was the moment I said, wait, so now I just work. Like, just that's it. So, and that was the moment I realized, okay, now I can be my real self. I started to have a lot of ideas around what I want to do. So I started a lot of different side hustles, right? I always wanted to do my own thing. And it was just about when was the right time, what was the idea. Those are the pull factor. The push factor is there are a few things in corporate life that I feel didn't really align with what I believe in. So again, I was in software sales, right, for pretty much 5 years of my life, all the way from, terms is like sales development representative to account executive. Essentially, I'm the end-to-end sales guy. I sell you software, sell a business software, and yeah, you buy from me and I get commission and all of that, right? And the thing is, I've always been in what you call fast-growing companies, meaning these are companies who have maybe they are really big in the UK, in Europe or US, and now they want to expand to APAC. So I was typically the first or second sales rep. And when I started my career, it was early 2020s. During those moments, because of COVID and internet, the second boom of the internet per se, software sales was like very hot. Everybody wanted to get into it. And it was, the mantra for a lot of these software companies was growth at all costs. I don't care about my loss. Profit margin is not a thing for me. I just care about top line, which is revenue. And what happens is that when it trickles down to people like me, who is just a individual contributor, you start to have, number one, crazy quotas. Number two, people start to overhire. Like you know that, let's say the pie is only so big, right? Then you hire 20, 10 people. At some point, no matter how good a salesperson is, there's just not enough to go around. You just can't, the supply is just not sufficient. During those moments, I always tell myself, like, wait, why are we doing this? And I remember getting into quite a few conversations with my managers, sometimes going directly to my head of APAC and be like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we just going, go? I just couldn't get it. To me, this is not what I know of a profitable business. This is just growth at all costs, maybe get sold to a PE firm, maybe IPO or whatever that may be. And for some of my friends and good colleagues, right, sometimes they will tell me, Asher, it's just a job. You get paid, this is your job, you get hired. But I don't know, for me, I just cannot. I just cannot agree. So a lot of people also tell me, like, hey, why you leave good paying job? I paid pretty well, I would say. And I was very lucky. I was fortunate to right job, right time, right place. But I don't know, it's just something within me that says that I don't agree with how things is. And I have this confidence and belief that I can go and do it myself. Because I've seen how B2B deals are done, right? Like the amount, the money that is involved. I said, if I can just get that few clients that pay me this amount, then I can match my pay. And maybe I even have opportunity to do more things in the future. So those were really the pull factor. Want to do my own business. Push factor was all these different things in corporate.
As much as there's that thought process, now that you come out and do your own thing, are you also kind of like, grow? Yeah. It's like, how are you running this thing? I don't want you to be a hypocrite.
No. So the good thing is, I'm not go, right? As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm a solo. That's the first word. I'm a solo consultant. Why solo? Very simple. Solo means that, number one, I have control. I can deliver a quality work to my clients. And again, a lot of these clients I'm working are B2B companies, right? They are companies who have employees, who have work to be done. They want someone with good quality work. They want someone who they can trust. They don't want to just work with like a person and they pass it off to someone who's not experienced and all. They want to know I'm passing this work to someone. And when they have confidence in the work that I do, they're willing to pay. That's number one. Even when I started my business, I was like, okay, until I can predictably have a certain set of systems and a certain set of processes, I will not go and hire another person. Because again, going back to my corporate days, sometimes a lot of companies they're just throwing headcount at problems. But it doesn't really solve the problem, right? You need to really think about, so what is broken? What's the system? What's the process that is broken? So that's my situation now. Will it change in the future once I've established? Will I start to grow maybe one or two? Probably, but definitely not like the growth at all costs, get investors. That's not the kind of business, at least, I want to run.
Okay, fair. So has your income kind of caught up at this point in time?
Do we include CPF or not? No, government top up 70%, right? So that's the question.
Yeah.
If we include that, not yet, not yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that means it's close, it's marginal, right? In that sense.
Trying to get to, trying to get to. Yeah.
Okay. In the process of converting from full-time intense corporate job to doing your own grind and kind of growing it to have some level of income replacement or good enough level of income replacement, not feeling like, entrepreneur life so hard, right? Like you kind of got somewhere. Where are all your side hustles? Since you said that you're doing all these other side hustles, I want to hear a little bit on that front.
And by the way, I think it's also because of these side hustles that I know that, okay, if I were to start a business, what is the one that can help me make the most money? Because at the end of the day, I'm married, right? I have ring here, I'm married.
Ring is a proof.
Yeah, ring is a proof. Like, to me, like starting a business is, yes, it's fun, it's ambitious, but it's not play game run. I really need to think about, if I want a baby in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, I need to have actually a plan to get there. I cannot just, I'm not like staying with my parents, all these things. I cannot just anyhow, I earn $0 also okay, and I'm learning. No, that's not why I started a business, right? I started a business so that I can firstly have time freedom and to make the income that I want to in the long run. So I'll just share during my corporate life, I started quite a few side hustles. The first side hustle, this was actually still in university's days. I did dropshipping, right? That time COVID, everybody wanted to do dropshipping. I tried, failed. I think I lost about 500, 600, 700. I can't remember. Running ads, everything, failed. Didn't sell a single thing. One experience. When I started a corporate job, I was in tech sales. And a lot of this advice about how to sell and everything was all US based. That was the moment I said, why isn't anyone doing something for APAC? Just like what you're doing now, right? This kind of shows is a lot in the US, but none here, or maybe very little. Yeah. That's how I think about it as well. Right? Like I want to be the first, because all the companies I joined, I'm the first or second sales rep in APAC, right? So I always wanted to be like the first, have control over things, influence. My second side hustle was running a podcast where I interview tech sales professionals across APAC. So it could be like Vietnam, someone from Vietnam, someone who has sold to Thailand, someone who has sold to Indonesia, Singaporeans, all of these different things. Got traction, got me, at least from a LinkedIn tech sales space, some people started to know me. I would say, I guess to a certain extent, if I were to change jobs, it's not too hard. I can't know people. But actual income, no, I didn't monetize it at all. It was just for fun. I just put time into editing, contributing. And from there, I started to join with some other friends who were also in tech sales, and we created a tech sales community. It was called Tech Sales Singapore. Right now, I think it's still running. They are having some kind of drinks every 1 to 2 months. People just gather, chit-chat. But it still is a nice community. So that was the third thing that I sort of got into. The fourth idea I had was, why not I do a consulting business? I teach people how to get into tech sales. I guide them, I coach them. That one didn't even take off. Why? Because I recall, I cannot remember, is it a second or third person? This person reached out to me, and back then I haven't announced that I was doing this consulting coaching program, right? This person was telling me like, hey, Asher, want to get your thoughts. I got laid off from this job. Now I'm trying to go into tech sales. And honestly, at that point, I was like, wow, I feel so bad to imagine I have to charge you. Because prior to even thinking of these ideas, I was doing this kind of like sharing for free. So to me, I'm just like, wow, 过不去, that's the Chinese word. Then I said, okay, I don't want to charge individuals unless I know for a fact that I can help you with something and that is of value. Then I said, okay, but I don't feel bad charging businesses. That was my 4th business, shut down very, very, very shortly. And then I decided, okay, I want to do business. Then during one of my job at this company called Supermetrics, my sort of last side hustle before I really decided to do my own thing was I was starting my own lead generation agency on the side. Because I know sales, I know lead generation, and I was doing it. It was crazy because sales obviously takes a lot of time, right? You're working from 9 to 6, sometimes 7. And back then I was trying to target the US market for my side hustle. So I remember that was a period where so little sleep, really very little sleep, 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours, maybe if I'm lucky. It was 9 to 7. Day job, eat dinner, go back home, maybe start at 9:30 because that's when the Eastern time people wake up, right? And you start to, do another thing. And it became so tough. I was trying to do that for 3 months, burn out physically, mentally also burn out, not hitting quota as much because obviously you can't do that, right? But there was also a period where I started to understand my capacity really well. Like, what can I do? What is the lifestyle I want? Do I just want to keep hustling? Because so many people glorify the hustle, I feel like just from those experiences, I hustled before. So to me, it was not about, do I still want to hustle? It was about, okay, what kind of lifestyle do I want? So what is the income that I need to live this lifestyle I want? And in my day job, can I live the lifestyle I want? So those were the situations, right? And I feel like, okay, it can be done. The only reason I decided not to continue pursue during that period, right, was because back then I was with my then girlfriend, now wife. She started asking me like, Asher, so am I your priority? Or is all your business stuff and all this? You know, those kind of words hit you, right? I think there were a few times in our relationship where there were turning points. There was one turning point, I would say. And I just told her that I'm so sorry and you're my priority. So I said, okay, I'm going to focus on us. I can pursue this in the future. So I let it go. I said, okay, just my job and you. And that went on for, but I told her, say, hey, but if one day I decided to fully focus on it, will you support me? She said, yeah, I will support you. And this was maybe close to 2 years before I actually even started my business. I roughly recall that period of time, right? And then subsequently, you know, things improved, everything. We still had arguments. But eventually, we decided, okay, yeah, we are right for each other. While I always had starting my own business at the back of my head, timing wasn't right. We were preparing for wedding, we were preparing for house, everything. There was also a period I was transitioning to a new job. But where it really changed was last year. I got married last year, December. And I recall that was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm married now. During my honeymoon, we were in Europe, right? Every night, I go on the bed. Oh, I tell you, I cannot, for a good 30 minutes, I'll keep thinking to myself, wait, what's stopping me now from going into my own business?
Since I'm married already, ma.
Yeah, married, house also
already
settled,
secure, already the ring is
renovation
there,
settled.
everything good.
I started thinking about it. And even before I got married, I said, hey, Ning, can I quit in August, like this year, August, which is now already. Actually, this is supposed to be a time I quit. He said, yeah, sure, I will support you. You know, as we got to the wedding, it became, oh, can I quit in June? Every single day, because my previous job, before I started my own thing, so much travel. I was traveling every 2 to 3 weeks. And I thought to myself, wow, when I have kids, can I still continue this life or not? Cannot lah, very hard. I don't want to be a missing father, you know. I want to be at home, I want to do all these things. I remember when we got to the honeymoon, right? The conversation somehow became like, I'll quit in May. But during the honeymoon, I said, can I quit in April? Can I quit in my first day? Come back to work in January. And then subsequently, week 2, I had to fly to Malaysia. First day come back, I was like, I want to quit. I want to give letter in March. Went to Malaysia. I was like, what am I doing here? Okay, I want to quit in February. Then when I came back for a trip, I just tell my wife, I said, I think I'm going to do it really. Then we had some plans laid out. I'll share those plans later. I actually gave the letter was 7th of February because my last day was 6th of March. Yeah, 7th of March was sort of my official full time into my business day, right? So that was the time. Before I gave the letter, I told, okay, this is my commitment to you. We had 2 key milestones. First milestone is if in the first 3 months of me going full time, right, I don't earn a single dollar, like $0 revenue, I go back and find a job. Because it just means I'm not cut out for this. It just means I don't have the skill sets, I don't have the experience, whatever that may be. So that was the first commitment I gave to her. Second commitment was, okay, in 6 months, I want to earn this amount. I want to collect this amount of revenue, this amount of money. If I don't hit that, same thing. It means I'm not cut out. So I gave her the assurance, right, to say that it's just a challenge. Think of it 6 months. If I don't get it, I go back to a job. Sales is not hard to get back because you got the skill set, you can hunt, all these things. Thankfully, it's going to hit 6 months now. We have really exceeded those milestones, but obviously have to work very hard. So I like to give myself those kind of milestones. I force myself to hit something.
In that story, right, I can also see how your relationship with money and the kind of mindset around money has kind of evolved over time. Like when you first started, without anything, you do a certain thing. Then after that, you pay off the bills, uni debt, then you hustle for a different thing. Where are you currently in this thing? You know, like where does money sit in your life, you know, broadly?
I would say this, right? Generally speaking, to me, I believe money at the end of the day gives me freedom to do things that will help my convenience. For example, Singapore very hot. Saturday afternoon, we want to go out to date. We don't want to squeeze in the MRT and all. We'll say, hey, cab lah. Yeah, you know, now I can do that. But growing up, I never ever do that. Always it was MRT, bus, everything. But now I can do that. Now, even between me and my wife, we say, hey, let's also spice things up lah. So we have a plan between ourselves is every quarter we travel once together. Yeah. And a lot of times it's not like Europe, US. It could be, hey, let's go to Korea, Japan. KL, we also happy. We will have times to say, hey, yeah, this month, this quarter, let's go JB lah. But still, it's a time that we spend, right? We commit to it. To me, money was never. I'm not a big fan of like luxury items. In fact, this my wife told me where this is. She bought for me as our wedding gift. This is the most luxury things I ever have already. Growing up, maybe just because I didn't have a lot of these things. Growing up, money was never. It was just for a way for me to tell myself that, okay, I can have better convenience in terms of the daily stuff. And so even when I was going out to my business, right, I asked myself, okay, how much do I need to live per month? I knew that number very well. Ever since I started working, every single purchases I track. I don't track like receipt. I'm not so extreme, right? But every time I buy something, pay for something, even travel, I note it down in my app. So I roughly know that, okay, looking at my app, past 12 months, what's the average? I would say right now, include all the house things and everything, right? And allowance and usage, I would need to cover everything, 3.5K to 4K. I would consider that a good enough quality, but you obviously need to try to get more for investment, savings in the future, right? Because that is really just break even.
Hey Coconuts, I'm very excited to introduce you to the latest offerings from World First. World First is an all-in-one business account that fuels your business worldwide. Their latest product, the World Card, is a multi-currency business card that allows you to get unlimited 1.2% cashback on all your business spend. If you use it on Meta Ads, Google Ads, ChatGPT, Salesforce, and more, you get additional benefits. Of course, subjected to change, terms and conditions apply. But more importantly, if today you are looking to start your business, whether it's in retail, e-commerce, or B2C, World First is your partner. Check them out, link in the description below, and back to the show. Tell me then, okay, the transition is one thing, right? But then preparing for the transition is also a big part of this whole, personal finance, quitting your job, trying new things. So I think when you were on Geraldine's platform, you didn't really break down, the house, all these other bigger things. So I want to kind of hear a little bit of that, right? So because you are also one interesting one, you're about to marry, about to get a house, then just nice you want to quit. It's like you do all the big decisions together, right? So just want to hear what made you do all that together and the money preparation that you've had to do this.
In my mind, it was always two things: the reality and the physical situation right now, and my mental state situation. Obviously, when you were doing renovation of the house, buying a house, married, mentally, physically, you're not in the right state. But when I really started to think about it was, the original timeline was August this year I quit, right? When that really came in was when we finally paid everything for the renovation done. We've done our renovation, everything cleared maybe around June last year. So we got the house, then subsequently we got married, right?
How much do you spend there?
Renovation cost was around 47K.
Yeah.
Not bad for a resale flat. We are not BTO resale.
And how much do you spend on the house? What is the transaction price?
Before the grant, 790. By the way, I always tell people this: if you go for resale, right, you technically can buy house yourself. I didn't have an agent. Everything do ourselves because I also don't want to pay the 1 to 2%. Nothing against them. Then until my friends tell me, I buy myself. I say, huh? Really, man? How? You see, actually, Singapore HDB website, very nice one. Lay out all the steps for you. You don't do step 1, right? You cannot do step 2. Don't do step 2, you cannot do step 3. So very easily. Then I said, wow, really? Then I started calculating, okay, if let's say I don't know the commission, I guess 1 to 2%. Let's say 700K, I'm giving 7K. Wow, 7K can do a lot of things. I say, never mind. Then I'm just like, hey, I do myself I can read, understand, just learn a few things. That was what I did. I decided, okay, let's go. Then you really just go and read, understand. You understand roughly how to look at X prices and make sure you compare. Again, for saving money, right? 7K is a lot, I feel. I would say the whole process, again, wasn't hard. Just follow what HDB say. You may have to sometimes call some of your friends who did it, ask a few questions. And I think actually the good thing about getting your own house yourself is there's a human element. Now, what do I mean by that is when you go and look at houses, right? Imagine if it's a property agent, talk to another property agent, the buyer agent and seller agent. I feel like sometimes become two business transactions. But I remember the house that we wanted to buy, it was from two slightly older couple. I believe it was maybe their first or second house. Then their kids grew up in it. When they saw hey, we got no buyer agent, we just own self. But then the seller agent will negotiate with us. And sure, it's her job, right? But we'll tell the seller agent, actually, can we just chat with the couple? Let us have some words. Then initially, obviously, high price, right? I said, this is our first home. We are a new couple. Could you really just help us though? Because the cost is very high now. And no matter what, we knew they earn one. They sure earn. And we were lucky. They also happened to get a new place. They needed to move. They also had some timeline. So we were really, really very lucky. I want to say that first. And we managed to, I guess those interactions, I really feel kind of moved them a little bit. and they said, yeah, okay, let's help this young couple and everything. So sometimes it could be a good thing also, not just save money, but just get to talk to the owners.
To be fair, I think a lot of retirees, at some point in their life, money is not so important, right? So if you can connect them with them at a deeper level, sometimes they are just seeing, they see their younger selves in you. They're very happy to help you. They have a lot. They have a lot of abundance. What else do you do?
There were two things in my mind like that I knew that I had to get ready before I quit my job. Number one was the physical portion, meaning money. Do I have at least 12 months of funds? And I'm talking living expenses, meaning if today I don't have a job for 12 months straight, zero income, can I survive? That was my goal. And again, it helped that I'm not a big spender. Somehow, with all the wedding and everything, between me and my wife, we were also able to save quite a good amount. It also helped that being in tech sales, technology, you had those good years. Again, I say we were both very fortunate. I got into tech and everything. And so I had 12 months. Great. Marriage done, wedding done, house done, everything. Then the last part was the mentor. The mentor was more about just asking myself, what's the worst that can happen? And throughout my corporate life, I paid money for courses, entrepreneur. Yeah, of course, legitimate one, good ones. I paid for like mastermind groups to do all these things. I always kind of have this inclination that, yeah, I will do it full-time one day. So during those moments, I also got to know a few people who actually made the leap. And even the few weeks or few months before jumping into it, I connected with some of those people and said, can I just have 15, 30 minutes of time? I'm even willing to pay you. Like, what's your hourly? I pay you. I just want to get your perspective. And that was what it is. Many of them very nice. They say, no worries. I was in your shoes. I'll talk to you. So I talked to a few people, some in Singapore, some out of Singapore. And they just tell me, Asher, really what's the worst that can happen? You're in sales, you got a good skill set. The worst is 6 months don't work out. Yeah, you lose 6 months of money, of salary per se, but you can always go ahead and get a job. And that really pushed me. That was one factor. But people also start asking me, but think about the upside. What if you succeed? And then that's a very different situation, right? If I feel like as Asians, sometimes we're very negative. Like, hey, 真的吗? Really do this or not? But what if it works? And I try to also have that kind of positivity. And I feel like as a business owner now, I think you need to know.
If you don't have that, you don't do it.
Correct. Yeah. But again, I would say start from the basics. Do you have the money to survive first? Okay, because you must imagine what if you really zero income. Can you survive? And can you also support if you have a partner? Can you support both of them? I was taking into consideration all these things.
Since we talk a little bit about the house, I have one more question. So how much capital do you put up for the house? Because that will affect your mortgage, that will affect your repayment down cycle, right? So why I ask, because my assumption is during tech sales, you guys probably make good numbers. So you have the float to make a decision. Like how much do we want to put in first, or we take minimum, then we go. So I want to hear your thoughts, because I'm sure that affects your decision downstream also. So just give us some idea around there.
Okay, so me and my wife, we were very aligned on this. We say that firstly, there's two options, a condo or resale. Condo, everybody likes to say, condo sure earn one. Now that's the saying, popular saying. But then I really went to calculate also. I talked to my property agent friends. I said, hey, if I buy, let's say this 1.2 mil condo, okay, how much can I sell for? Give me estimate, how much do I pay a month? I cannot remember figures, 25% to 30% down payment, all these things. But all I remember at that moment was wow, this monthly mortgage, firstly, CPF cannot cover fully. I still need to add on my own cash. Even if I earn 5 years later or 10 years later, my quality of life during these 5 years, wow, am I just leaving to pay off for this condo? I don't want. Because one of the things with me or why I leave corporate is I don't want people to have, people will just say, I want to put you on PIP. I want to increase your quota. I feel like people always have control over me just like that. And I cannot fight back because I'm a corporate slave, in a sense. I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling. So same thing. I don't want financiers to have control over me. So then we were aligned, okay, let's go HDB and we must make sure no cash output. At least for the down payment of 20 to 25, I think 20%, I can't remember, must be fully CPF. So that's how we started. And we say, okay, what's the max that we can go? Assuming we take 80% loan, right? I think that was the max. Assuming 80% loan, what's the max that we can go? So then we started from there. The max was, maybe we could go out to 900K maybe. I cannot remember again. But obviously we didn't want to push the max. And then we also started asking ourselves very basic questions. Hey, want to live near parents or not? Got the extra 20K thing. Yeah, okay. Parents live at Clementi. I said, Clementi not bad. And then we started from there. And that's why we negotiated. And the good news for us is when we bought a house, a COV, no extra. we managed to be under the whatever ceiling it was lah. So for us, the good thing was no cash at all, fully CPF. The only thing now is I start my business, but no CPF. But okay, still, I checked my CPF before I started. I had about 12 to 14 months left. So even if, again, I don't contribute anything to CPF, okay, still can. And maybe between me and my wife, we will need to discuss soon, like, hey, actually, you got job. Why not use your CPF? I pay you, because your company gives you 17%, might as well use that. So those are just some things. Again, back to the basics, which is have money first.
But okay, so essentially, you looked at between you and your spouse, the CPF account, what is the maximum you can put for your down payment, right? 20%, and then the remaining mortgage, you're trying to manage that. Okay, so I think that provides a lot of color for our audience to understand, you as a person and how you frame your mind to make such a leap. Maybe give us a bit more color then, like where are you taking this? Where are you taking your life towards? Since, it does sound like the entrepreneurship type of thing. It's not to grow like a $1 billion company, it has a lifestyle choice element to this, so like what is the life you're working towards? So maybe some will call what is your Singapore dream lah? Like where are you going there?
I always start with the short-term goal, right? Okay, within these 3 to 6 months, where do I want to be? And is it realistic? Need to make sure it's realistic goal. 3 to 6 months, if you tell me, let's say, what's the magical number? Well, the magical number is always, 10K USD lah. I want 10K USD profit. I need to first prove to myself, run the business for 9 months to 1 year. I want to make sure that I can firstly match my previous pay. Yeah, because then that will prove to myself that I made the right decision and I can do it.
What's the range right now?
Let's say for tech sales context, you typically start off from what you call a sales development representative, business development representative. Your job is essentially to set meetings. Set meetings for what you call the account executive, the person who closes the deal lah. Your job is a lead generation person, prospect, cold call, email, LinkedIn message. Just try to find people to talk to you lor. Yeah, that one normally there's a range out there. Obviously, for the more local companies, this region one, we're talking OT lah. So in SaaS sales, there's this concept of OT. OT simply means what's your total compensation, base pay, plus your commission. Normally, it's a 1 year thing. The minimum right now I see, at least in Singapore, anywhere from 65K to 70K OTE yearly. The percentage is normally 70% of that, or sometimes 65% I've seen is base pay. The rest is commission. And how do you get the commissions? Normally, there's different KPIs. Could be you need to set X amount of meetings per month, or each meeting, the value of the potential deal must be certain amount. Yeah, quite standard in terms of how it pays there. When you get to the AE level, AE meaning the one who really closed the deal. You have what you call the small business AE, the mid-market AE, the enterprise AE, the strategic AE. The whole idea is you just close bigger businesses lah. Obviously, the number of years required, some enterprise AE is 20 years in the business already. Some mid-market AE is 10 years in the business, some 5-6 years maybe. From there, normally your base to commission is 50-50. So someone may come and tell you, okay, you're a small business AE, I pay you 120K SGD a year. 60K of that is guaranteed only. Yeah. And there's this thing called PIP, right? If sometimes you don't hit your target for 3 to 6 months, they can come to you and say, okay, you're on a PIP for 3 months. Within these 3 months, you don't hit 100%, you're out. Everything is a risk and reward. There's a risk and reward ratio, right? You want the reward? Yeah. But are you willing to take the risk? You willing to take the stress? Tech sales people work long hours, man. They are on course. They have to travel when the customer is there. They can't say no because that's their fun one. And not only that, if they don't close, boss will come down on them. So number one, again, short term is to make sure I meet the same amount of salary I can, or at least close to it, and working the same amount of hours. Yeah, that's number one. And that will prove to me that, okay, this can work. And then I don't have to travel so much. The next thing at least let's say you ask me then 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years, I do foresee myself to then potentially having a small team. Because now I deliver everything myself. Great. Profit margin is great. Profit margin can be 90% because service business, you are selling your skill set. Profit margin can be very good. But when you have employees, I'm sure you know also, then your profit margin cuts lah. But in return, you probably get to, I guess, scale a bit more. And in return, you can pass your work to someone lah. Maybe even 2x what I was earning in my corporate and working 30 hours. Why? It's because I tell my wife, like, a mini goal I have is when you're ready to have kid, you can quit your job. You don't need care about the 4 months, 6 months, what maternity leave by the government. You want 1 year, 2 years off, also can.
Family, that's the main goal in your next phase of life.
Family and freedom and time freedom.
Fair.
Potentially location freedom also. Because I'm virtual, right? Technically, I can go anywhere I want to.
Tell me a little bit more about how are you managing like all the so-called extra part of your finances, right? So 3.5 to 4 is like baseline, you have a mortgage running, and then you have some of these aspirational goals, right? How are you managing your surplus, and how you kind of like, do you have like clear buckets that you set so that, this is my set up family fund or how are you doing that whole thing at the back?
We start with that baseline. Okay, let's say 3.5 to 4K is the cash you most likely will spend on, regardless, on fixed costs or whatever. The last time I checked, the rest or the amount accounts for, at least back in my corporate job, was about 45% left. Then normally about 10 to 15% of that would be to savings, just pure savings. From there, if I recall, back then 22 or 23% was investment. Now investment for me, very boring one. S&P 500 every month. Yeah, I'm not a trader. I don't look at stocks. I just S&P 500 just to beat inflation. To me, I'd rather spend my time working on my business, earn more and all that. That's more fun to me.
I want to understand like why of all the tools and products and there's so many options these days, right? Like why you choose this one?
People have always told me, right, like the best time to start investing is yesterday. Yeah. So to me, it was so much like, hey,
who are these people?
These people.
Why so many people tell you so many things?
Yeah. So these people could be, maybe people who started earlier than me. Maybe in my army, they start already. I didn't start investing in army. Yeah, they start, and then, they show me like, hey, yeah, see, it's quite steady returns, S&P 500. These are people on YouTube, obviously your financial guru, valid and verified one, of course. Okay, what is consistent with all these financial guru? They always like to quote this Warren Buffett thing, right? Like, oh, I compare my returns for S&P 500 versus all these hedge fund investors. So to me, it was just a very basic concept. I just started from there. In fact, when I first started, I started robo-advisor just because, again, it was simple, just get started. Then I say, okay, S&P 500, I can afford to buy more. Then I go there. Then now, at least I get to a level where like, instead of investing in US, then pay the 30% tax, I can buy domicile. It's just small things you try to switch here and there.
But your savings rate is quite high, right? I mean, based on what you've said, about 15% goes into savings. What do you do with this savings? Is it just in cash? I'm very sure the front part of accumulating got you that buffer. So that is like the mental, affirmation to let's take some risks, right? And I think that's what most people in Singapore probably will need to do, right? Because the risk reward mechanics are a bit tilted here, right? It's very expensive if you fail. So you kind of need that front part, right? I understand. Do you get to a position where you're like, okay, I've accumulated enough in this like 12-month time frame. I don't need another like 6 months, and then does this extra so-called savings go somewhere else, or it still just continue to amount within this like savings account that you have that you don't do anything about, that's just there?
It likely will, sooner or later, it likely will go. It just so happened that when I hit that 12 months, 13, 14 months, just so happened that period I also was going to start my business. So at least, again, for the next 6 months is just make sure everything stabilized first. I roughly know how much I will come in. I want to get to that stage because I'm getting clients still, new clients here and there. I want to make sure that, okay, I have a fixed set of clients that pay me a fixed set of retainer amount such that I can, because now I'm also tracking like what's my profit margin out in and all this, right? Get to a place first, then reassess everything again.
In other words, you don't particularly have like big other goals, right? Like retirement, family fund, none of those things. You're just using best practices to kind of like hold your capital at this point in time while you grind out the business. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, fair statement. Maybe one thing to add is the family fund. Actually, me and my wife were discussing it because she's also stabilizing her job. I also hopefully stabilize soon. We also may want to start a kid fund. Just put in money every month for this kid, let it grow a bit, those savings plan, right? So can use for his or her university, maybe. That's one. But other than that, maybe the rest of the things is probably 2 years later. Let me see, buy property or not. In Singapore, I don't know if Singapore can or not. Maybe Malaysia or something. I don't know. We'll see where we get to. But there are plans. It's just not concrete yet.
You have thought through, why you do certain things, which is great, very amicable. Right or wrong is a different story, right? Because it depends on the parameters we measure on, right? So
I agree.
Depending on what the other side, the listener thinks, then they may think, that shit is wrong, you shouldn't do it this way. That's up to you. You can put in the comment section, okay? Right. Engage with us. I think that's important. But maybe in closing, right? Do you have any last things you want to add to the fellow Singaporeans that are still grinding it out in the corporate life, right? So any parting words for this audience?
To me, I would say two things, right? The first thing would be we go back to the basics. If you want to have the freedom or want to have the opportunity to go and try something that you always wanted to do, go back to the basics, which is money lah, unfortunately. That's the reality, you know. And Singapore is obviously more expensive lah. You know, you have to have a certain amount, buy a house. Yeah, you need to have that emergency fund for you to first have that flexibility and for you to have that mental assurance that, okay, I can go and try. Obviously, different people have different ways of getting there lah. For me, it was I work very hard, tech sales, corporate world. You can also reduce your expenses potentially. Don't buy so many things that you don't need. Second point is, and this took me some time to finally grasp that idea, and it's that I want to live the life I want to live in my way. People, even when I was about to leave my corporate job, right, I have bosses telling me like, hey, Asher, you want to do your own agency, you want to do service business, but you can't really scale. Tech business is where it's at. You can scale infinitely. So, hey, I should go and do a tech business. But I myself know that I am not a technical in nature. I can do service. Maybe I'll do something tech in the future. Maybe I find a partner, tech partner. But for now, I know what I want, which is I have this amount. I want to be at home with my wife, my kids in the future. I want to be able to have the freedom to travel, work anywhere I want to if I want to. Does that mean a bit of sacrifice in the short term? Yes. But I live the way I outlined to, right? And it's about not comparing, right? And just thinking about what is the life you actually want that makes sense for you. And don't be too crazy about it. I would say those are the two things. Start with the basics and know what you want and pursue that as best as you can.
Awesome. That was a great ending, because I think we as a society, we are at the cusp of change, right? We are trying to redefine the Singapore dream, right? Our Prime Minister has said it multiple times, right? There are different pathways to success and all that. But as much as we are in that discovery process of what is a different pathway to success, I think what is a good quality of life in Singapore is still up in the air. It's a bit foggy, right? So I think you've provided some frame of mind as to this is the life I want, right? So that could be a reference for our audience. And if they would like to connect with you, where's the best place?
My best place is LinkedIn.
What do they search for?
Just Asher Chua.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you have not put your email address in our website, go to thefinancialcoconut.com to put your email there so that we can not compete with the algorithm where we need to reach you and we can get to you directly to update you of our latest events, things that are happening, and all the good stuff at The Financial Coconut. So with that, thank you. We'll see you in next week's episode. Meanwhile, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.